T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to the Play It By Ear podcast. The podcast where the topics may vary because, hey, we play it by ear. And now your hosts, Eric Fiskus, Brady Liming, and Todd Griffin.
It's hot.
That it is.
It's going to get hot. If you're in Ohio. Maybe if you're not in Ohio, maybe it's cool for you, but it's getting daggone hot. It'll be triple digits tomorrow, feels like. That's what they say. But hopefully you're staying cool somewhere and you're listening to us. There are 6 people in the room, so as always, we invite you to chime in, tell us who you are, or stay back in the shadows if you like. It doesn't matter. I'm Eric Fiskus. Brady Liming is with us, as well as Todd Griffin.
Did it get? I think it got triple digits today. Real feel.
Did it?
It was.
It did with the heat index.
Yeah, it was a hot. I know a hot tour at Shawnee State today.
Oh, you're at Shawnee. You're in the
Hotter
in
and
P-Town?
far. Hotter and far out there.
Oh yeah, I knew I recognized the name of that place on the menu that you sent the picture of. I'm thinking, man, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it was. Well, what was it? Let me look back at it. Patties and Pints.
Patty, yes.
It was really cruel this afternoon because like I took the kiddos to the pool and was only like there 15, 20 minutes. And then, blue sky and all of a sudden crack of thunder just came up out of nowhere and they cleared everything. So it was like, man.
Yeah, downpour for a little bit.
Yeah.
Should have stopped at the vault and seen PJ, Todd.
I don't really know my way around there. I was going to text you earlier, but we didn't have much time beyond our scheduled to-do list, we did have time to stop and grab a bite to eat. And, but yeah, very hot. It was at least according to the phone, it was supposed to be like 104 real feel around 1 or 2 o'clock, but I don't know if the rain came in and nixed that or what.
I forget what day the is going to be the hottest. I think it's Thursday maybe. Yeah, it's going to be brutal. And I'm even a hot weather guy.
In KU tomorrow, there won't be, if it hasn't changed since I've been there, it's not nary a shade tree.
Oh, all concrete too.
Yeah.
It being like an oven.
Yeah, it'll be hot.
Of course, I mean, it's probably like certainly a much different place than when I was there, Todd. I'm sure it's a lot different than when you were there even.
Yeah. Yep, I haven't, it's been a few years since I've been on campus.
All right, we got people chiming in. Mike, Georgia.
I bet it is hot there.
Hot as Hades, hot and humid. Shelter.
Humid.
Michael?
That's right. How's it going, Michael? Good to see you the other day, bud.
All right, we now have 11 people in the room. So,
Michael, I was telling these guys about our conversation the other day when you said that you started listening to us and you thought, oh, these guys are crazy. And we take that as a compliment. That's why I shared it with these guys. That
is a high-level compliment.
That is it, yes.
You don't know the half of it, man.
Hey, Chris.
The historian is in the house.
We'll be touching upon some things the historian sent to us here momentarily in our second topic of the evening. Again, this is episode 165. Let's play it by your podcast. If you've not been here before, we'll have a couple topics tonight. We will talk them to death and move on. That's what we do. All right. He hate me with us.
Hello, he hate me.
I don't hate you. If you're talking
We don't hate anyone.
No, we don't.
Except for that daggone Richard Marx.
And the Russians.
And the Russians,
Who try to shut us down at every turn. Hello, Richard.
Oh. I'm seeing Dennis's comment. He's bailing Stroud later this week. Any takers?
Pass.
Ah, that's a hard pass.
No, thank you.
Unless you got an air-conditioned tractor cab for me. Other than that, no.
It's hard to bail straw from the cab, Eric.
Doesn't a machine do it?
I was going to say, they have machines to do that now, don't they?
I don't know.
Doesn't it turn it into those giant marshmallow-looking things? Shredded wheat-looking things?
All right. Brady has the topic of the evening, and I will have a second topic, like I said.
Yes.
We'll talk about some things
Got a
the
very
historians
special
put
second
together.
one.
So, Josh, welcome. Trying to get his son a job. Yeah, send him out there in the heat, Josh. Make him a man. That's right. Needs a job.
I can't get over the thought of bailing Stroud by hand, like with a pitchfork or something like that in this heat. It makes me appreciate our forefathers from decades earlier.
Yeah.
Green Acres.
That's the straw is in my living room. I'm not bailing it.
Unless the straw's in my drink, I'm not messing with it.
I'm embarrassed to admit, like, I've lived in Brown County all my life, and I still can't tell you the difference between hay and straw. I know there's a difference, but I don't know what it is.
Hay is for horses.
What isn't straw?
I don't know. That's the
It's
only
just
thing.
bedding.
Straw for them to lay on, I think.
Is that what it is? They eat hay and they lay on straw. Isn't it the same thing? Just like a different time of the process?
You got one townie and two suburbians in Sardinia trying to talk about hay and straw. This is bound to go well.
This is bound to go well. I've said this.
Out of the three of us, I believe I'm the only one that ever worked in fields. Not straw, but I did my fair share of working in tobacco back in the day.
I did some gardening when I was a Ute. Helped my grandma liming pull some things in the orchard, some apples and some garum and some things like that. But I like to say my go-to line is my agricultural knowledge is I can identify corn and I know that's a bowl. Don't try to milk it. So
Josh said, there we go. We finally have it. Hay is grass. Straw is a byproduct of wheat.
thank you. I needed that instruction.
Here we go.
Richard's got his popcorn out.
Yep.
Oh, man.
I've done my fair share of tobacco.
Yeah,
We were
I do
just
not
talking
like
about
these
that
days.
with some people today. I mean, does anyone grow tobacco? How long has it been since you saw a tobacco patch? Been a while. Been a while.
I
Tobacco
know that
stand.
I don't
I
know
know
what
when-
happened to it.
tobacco fell out of favor, and evidently green peppers and tobacco enjoy the same kind of soil. So a lot of tobacco patches were replaced by green peppers, evidently.
I know there was
That's the
one,
extent of my agricultural knowledge, too.
one family got out of tobacco and got into shrimp.
Well, I mean,
Shrimp.
I feel sorry for kids that can't go over the. Is the tobacco festival even a thing? It's not even a thing anymore, is it?
No,
No.
it's now the the Heritage Festival.
Heritage.
I feel sorry for kids that can't. Underage kids can't go get some free tobacco, some free skull.
Now, here's
Yes.
a story from Utenham.
That was a thing, people. If you were not in Brown County, that was a thing. You go to the tobacco festival, give you a pouch of tobacco and snuff.
Yep,
Snuff.
give you some. What are you, 90? Some snuff.
No.
They give
Grandma.
you. They give you skull bandits.
Yes. That was my story, man. They were passing them out like they were passing out, bubble gum at the parade. Like they would pass out these packages of these newfangled things called Skull Bandits, which is basically backy in a tea bag, and for the uninitiated. And
Can't say
Eric,
Don't
teabag on here.
yeah,
Don't dunk it in your
this
drink.
is the literal one. But Eric, I still remember a baseball practice at Purdy Road Ball Diamond ball field where somebody had a can of Hawken, and we thought it was candy. We thought
I
it was
forgot about that.
candy.
That's what
Yeah.
everybody started on.
Smelled
Because
like
it was like
candy.
a cartoon. It was an animated, like a cartoonish looking, which made it look not real. Just some
That's
kind of
what-
mint gum or something until all of us start, getting all jacked up and yakking in the outfield or on second base. And
And that's why the tobacco industry got sued for $900 million
Oh.
or billion or whatever it was.
Yeah, everybody. That was everybody's first can was Hawking. That's what I started on back in the day.
yeah. And
Yeah, I'm sneaking up on
Sardinias.
my. I'm sneaking up on my anniversary. My
you're
July. I want to say July 11th or 7th or 14th. All those days are in my head. It's July 2007 since I have had
Wow.
tobacco in my mouth. Yes.
Congratulations.
congrats.
So what is that? Do the math real quick for me.
17 years.
17 years. Yeah. Yeah. Hardest thing I ever did.
Oh, really?
The hardest thing I ever
Um,
quit. Yeah.
Michael used to hand out pouches of Red Band chew at the major truck and tractor pulls and roadies.
No,
yeah.
back in the day, Redmond was always marketed as like a man's chaw. None of that sissy Hawking or bandit stuff. If somebody-
that's tobacco versus dip.
yeah, there was just shards of leaf.
Yeah.
Like
Beech
you ever
nut.
s-
Oh, yeah.
Beach
My grandpa,
nut.
I think my grandpa chewed beech nut. That was his go-to chaw.
Not the gum. the
Isn't there a
tobacco.
beech nut gum too? Yeah,
Yeah.
we've
We've
discussed
had this conversation. Are they the
Yeah.
same company? Did we
Different
look that up?
companies.
Different companies?
Yep.
Okay. All
Um,
right.
Before we start, I received a text message from my mother saying that the Facebook stream is not available. She's looking for it. So we had this issue a few weeks ago, and it's just Facebook being Facebook.
Facebook has jacked things up when it comes to live streaming. And there was some message on StreamYard, which is the software we use, about something about your page has to meet certain guidelines. And
Yeah.
so maybe if she goes to the Play It By Ear page,
Yeah,
she
mine's
can see
working.
it. So
Yours is
that's
working?
your personal page.
That's my personal page.
Okay.
Let me look at. Let me look at Brady's personal. Brady's is working now. Has
Okay.
she tried since? Gary Troutman says he's on Facebook. Hello, Gary.
Yeah, I can see where everyone is. Their little
Gary.
logos by their names.
Oh yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Huh.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, James.
James.
All right, are we
sorry.
ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Hey, if we could talk about coleslaw for 20 minutes, we can talk about tobacco for 20 minutes. I promise you that.
We could probably talk about tobacco for 30 minutes. We talk about coleslaw
Backy.
for 20.
The backy.
The difference
All right,
is
Brady.
I guess we've all, 2 out of 3 of us have been hooked on slaw. So
Yes,
only one of us has been hooked on backy.
Yeah.
true that.
All right. Are you ready for my topic of the evening, courtesy of Mr. Eric Fiskus tonight?
You guys, am I freezing up?
Just a smidge.
You did now.
He is frozen.
Poison.
He's
Well,
he's
now-
back,
now
but he's
he's back.
pixelated.
You're looking a little cloudy.
He Todd, his pixelation looks like he is a
now he's
Sasquatch
gone.
being filmed in the wild. How everything's all blurry.
Well, Brady's gone now. He'll be back. I'll put him back in when he
Yeah.
comes back. You can get started.
So hey, Michael, since you're chiming in, hey, how's our volume sound? Can you hear everybody okay? And here comes Todd back. He's a little cloudy, but
Hello?
he's here.
Yep, you're good.
Hello?
You're there. Can you hear us, Todd?
Yeah, but on my it's like it always does when this happens. On my end, you guys are locking up and freezing.
Mm. So sorry
Well,
about our gremlins this evening.
yeah, well, Brady,
It
why don't you
seems to
go
be caught
ahead
up
and
now. Everything does.
Yeah. And my mother says she now has found it on Facebook, so it must have been temporary.
all right.
Can you guys hear me?
I could hear you great, Todd, but Eric is
Yep.
still the softest.
All right.
He's
Well, I
being
just mean
mezzo piano tonight.
because it's at least caught up on my end to where everybody's mouth
Yeah.
is matching their words.
Well,
Heat. It says heat.
it's this heat. I have seen 2 Spectrum trucks about my area this afternoon, but we've been fine here. But it always makes me catch my breath when recording night whenever I see a Spectrum truck. So let's go on to the topic. Eric sent this a couple days ago to me. I had not really looked at it. And I looked at the titles today to keep the spontaneity and the organicness. So this comes from a list. It's called from a website called Antidotes for Chimps, which
Why not?
there we go. And it is lies that sitcoms told us. So we've all watched a sitcom in our lives. All of us have. Multi-generational sitcom watchers in this audience. And there are just some lies that have been perpetrated on us that we accept as fact, which really is rooted in total malarkey and nonsense. Balderdash. Hokum.
Well, and maybe it'll reveal itself later. But was the intent of the episode or whatever in this particular topic, was the intent to mislead people, or was it just pure fiction and we in our youth just believed it? You know what I mean?
I think there is some certain, before we start the topic, this is great because I think there is a certain branding that they kind of perpetrate the lives we all wish we could live, kind of. Does that make sense? So it's a very fictionalized version. And when I start the list, it'll become very apparent.
Okay.
But I know this isn't sitcoms, but I've mentioned in episodes before that one of the 80s movies lies was there would be dancing at parties. Like in every 80s movie, there's a big party where people are dancing. Never attended a real life party where people are dancing.
No, there was music. No one was dancing to it.
Yeah, yeah. All you have to do is watch Valley Girl or 16 Candles and, people cutting a rug in the living room with the speakers going. That just didn't happen.
Yeah.
No.
But are you ready for the first one?
Yes.
Yep.
So here it goes. The 5 people, this is making a reference to Friends, that 5 people in their 20s have matching free time. So you'll remember from the show Friends, what would a sitcom be without its main cast being in constant contact? Pretty much every show has to downplay how busy the average adult is. Try coordinating a shared activity with 4 other people. It's nearly impossible. So, friends are always at the Central Perk. Even Seinfeld, they were always meeting up for dinner at.
Well, okay. I see where this is going. I think I could debate this, though. I think I can play devil's advocate here. Because I get what it's saying, but maybe I would argue that part of the reason they became friends was because they did find themselves having somewhat like ours, and to where they had, they were at the same place, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't. I don't remember well enough to know the backstory, but like I can see that. I mean, sometimes life dictates your friends and stuff based on
absolutely
mutual interest, mutual shared interest, shared time.
I mean, think of us, for example. I mean, we're all educators, so we know when our hours are going to be, and we know when our summer's off. It makes it a little bit more easy.
Yeah.
So, but
and I mean, they weren't always there. I mean, they weren't always all of them there at the same time.
Correct.
So I guess I'm not knowledgeable enough of the Friends lexicon What were their jobs? What'd they do?
Ross was an archaeologist.
Yeah. Well, Joey was an actor.
I think Monica was some kind of chef.
She was a chef.
Um,
Phoebe.
Matthew Perry, I think, had like a typical office job. Chandler, yeah.
Chandler, yeah. And then a couple of them were just. It seems like Rachel was like in and out of jobs, wasn't she? Same with Phoebe.
Yeah.
Josh says Rachel worked at the coffee shop.
Yeah, she did. Now, did she always, Josh? I mean, she might have at the beginning. I don't really remember I'm the same way. I mean, I watched a good bit of the episodes, but I didn't follow religiously or.
Yeah. I will not be winning a Friends trivia contest anytime soon.
No.
You know, I've seen enough episodes to become aware,
Well,
but
does an archaeologist have regular hours?
I don't know.
And why would it? Ross is a paleontologist.
Sorry.
I knew he was a scientist of some sort.
Yes, he was digging up old stuff.
Yes, Chris.
But why was he never on a dig site?
He was. In fact, well, okay. I do remember one of the major plot points is when Rachel and Ross were fussing and doing that on again and off again thing, that Ross had to go off to a dig in China and met a girl there. So he came back.
Did work. Yeah, he did work at the museum, but he was a scientist that worked at the museum there. And again, like I knew Phoebe played music there. I just didn't know if that was technically her job.
Yeah. So,
that kind of explains some of the. If Rachel worked there, Phoebe played music. That kind of explains how the Central Perk or whatever was the.
Yeah. There was some what do you call it? Some gravity that pulled them all in, and Central Perk happens to be the center of gravity.
And I just look at titles of these lists and I just text them out to you all, and I don't look at them. So I don't know where this list is going, but there are a lot more unbelievable things about Friends than that.
Oh, yeah. Hang on, man, because this is going to get good. Now, this next one.
Real quick, we have someone in the chat here that owns a coffee shop. So, Gary.
Yes.
Would you say that you have people, is anyone kind of like a group of friends hang out there at your place, Gary, that have been doing that for years that could compare to this? I mean, obviously I know family, things like that. I just didn't know. Just a question that I would.
There are 5 friends in Sardinia that are 4.
Exactly. And before we go any farther, did you guys happen to see the one comment that we have the mother of the historian in the house tonight?
Yeah, I was going to get back to that.
That her historian son told her to check this out.
Welcome.
Hey, Nancy.
Thank you for joining us. We hope we won't leave you traumatized.
Yes. Let me get back to, of course, we have Gary in the room.
We hope you didn't come here expecting much.
If you don't expect much, we'll deliver.
We will exceed your expectations.
So Mike said 3 of them worked regular 9-to-5 gigs. 3 others bounced from job to job, but they had way too much time on their hands. That is true. Especially living in New York at that.
Yeah.
Well, I won't get into that. I'm assuming the list will go there, so go ahead.
There we go. So the number 2, I'm going to really say absolutely. The lie foisted upon us is that people are cool with disaster weddings. Here is their explanation that they could do a better job than I. Everybody loves a wedding episode, and of course at TV land, no wedding can ever go as planned. The bride and the groom will inevitably roll with the punches for the sake of true love, that it's all forgotten in a week. But in the real world, the drama and the grudges will be all everybody talks about for at least a couple months. So there's always a wedding where somebody ruins it somehow.
Yeah. That happens in movies too, where they do the whole if anybody has any objections or whatever it is, forever, speak now, forever. That never happens at a real wedding.
It came close once. Do you remember our friend Matt's wedding? The preacher or the pastor that was giving, he had an inordinately long pause. Does anybody object to this? And his eyes got real big, and for the most uncomfortably pregnant pause, he just made this face. Like just, and it was really
Like he
we
maybe
laugh
had some
about it.
inside information that somebody was going to, and he was giving them plenty of.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think it was because English was his second language, and I
Gotcha.
think that was what the deal was. So
So I've often wondered about that. Okay, if someone stands up and objects, I mean, do they have legal precedent to stop a marriage? I mean, so
that is
what?
a great question.
It's like sit down.
Sit down. Know your role.
That
Cut your
does
hole.
happen in the sitcom wedding, which I do enjoy a good sitcom wedding episode. Two of my favorites are Everybody Loves Raymond when Robert got married. That was a fantastic episode. And then the King of Queens episode where they're at a wedding and they have the little cameras setting on the table, and Doug gets busted because he takes a picture of his privates with a little hat, a little hat from the table.
Oh,
Not realize it, and then they're like at his house looking at the wedding pictures, and they run across that picture.
So
But-
here's the thing about wedding episodes, though. Depending upon who's getting married, the wedding episode may be good, but it may be a jump the shark moment for the show.
it's usually
Because
a
the marriage-
desperation move.
Yeah, because the marriage may make the show worse.
Yeah.
Getting married or bringing in a child.
Oh yeah, two death knell situations.
Which is
Cousin
funny
Oliver.
because two of the more realistic in real life elements of adulthood. You know what I mean? Like it, but when we don't want them in our sitcoms,
yeah,
we don't want real life in our sitcoms.
Correct.
we don't want Joni marrying Chachi.
We don't want Mel marrying Vera.
What?
Schneider marrying Bonnie Franklin.
Mel marrying Vera? Where'd that come from? Mel
Well,
never
we're just saying
married
we don't
Vera.
want that. We don't want a gross wedding.
Mel did
or-
get married though, didn't he?
No, I have no idea.
We don't want
can't
Mr.
remember
Drummond marrying anyone.
He
Oh,
married
yeah.
Adelaide.
Adelaide. Mrs. Garrett.
Uh,
Did he marry her?
He married Dixie Carter.
Ah.
That was the ABC. That was the ABC iteration of Different Strokes,
yes.
Remember that.
where they brought in the little redheaded kid.
I do
There you
remember
go.
that, but I didn't remember
a marriage and bringing in a little kid. Two death knell.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah. Did you do
We
that
don't
on
want
purpose?
Punky
Death
Brewster's
Knell?
grandpa marrying anyone. That would just change
Death
the
knell.
dynamic of the show.
Yeah. The textbook thing that shouldn't have happened was Cousin Oliver.
Oh yeah, well that's
Brady
the gold
Bunch?
standard of. He was so bad they took him back off and tried to save the show. Still
Yeah,
couldn't.
that he didn't exist. Cousin Oliver ended up on a milk carton. But
Yeah, that was bad TV.
that was really bad TV. That was
So Gary has a good point. He says, "I feel like an objection should at least spark a good debate." So, do you think that at that point, Gary? So let's just say whichever side. So, if it's the groom's side, if someone stands up and objects, do you think that the bride side should get like a 3-minute rebuttal? Like,
point of order.
Pick a
Now have the
representative to
floor.
argue their point, and then
There's a PowerPoint presentation,
then the preacher gets to decide who wins the debate and whether the marriage happens or
Yes.
not.
or doesn't go to a jury.
I like it.
I do too.
I do like that.
All right.
Jim has a valid point. Was the Brady Bunch good TV before Oliver was introduced?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you were preteen, teen, young teen, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I mean, the excitement of them trying
Kings
to get
Island.
out of the Kings Island, or them trying to get out of the jail in Arizona. Where were they? Arizona or
Yeah.
somewhere were they?
Or Peter going around going pork chops and applesauce.
They had to tie their socks together and belts and everything else to get the keys off the
Yes.
hook.
And never in any show ever was such drama put into a sneeze when Cindy had the sniffles. She'd sneeze and get that look on her face. We can't go on our vacation because Cindy has the sniffles.
This is pre-COVID too. This is like, would she have the swine flu?
By the way, guys, real quick, I want to do a little plug. if you're a candle person, I just got a new candle from New Riff Distillery over in Newport.
Speaking of our
Bourbon
previous discussion,
Bourbon and
Bourbon and-
tobacco.
tobacco.
I have
Oh,
Bomb
yeah.
Pop.
What is it?
bomb pop. It smells like a bomb pop.
That's if there's ever been a Brady candle, it's that one.
Now, wait. Do bomb pops have a smell?
Oh yeah,
Taste?
they smell like summer. They
No,
smell like
they
No.
smell like ice.
Well, let me
Smell like
rephrase.
ice.
They smell like a bomb pop taste.
Your candle smells like ice. Well, maybe they smell like a bomb pop should taste, because a bomb pop. Well, see, it was blueberry, right, or raspberry. What was the
Some
blue?
kind of some raspberry.
And what was the white? Did it have a? There's not much you can do with white flavoring other than
I
coconut
think-
or something.
No, it was a lemon based.
It was like cherry, wasn't it?
Well, the red
That was the
cherry.
red. I think the white was kind of a lemonade based one.
Yeah, smelled.
We'll
like
have to look
ice.
that up.
Or maybe it's like Skittles and they all three tasted the same, really. And your brain is
But-
playing tricks on you. Mr. Brewer says the candle smells
Mr.
like
Brewer.
fireworks.
There was some that smelled like fireworks a couple weeks ago. We won't talk about it on air.
Savannah, Todd, Walmart sells a chapstick called Squash.
Squash.
They have a vanilla bourbon flavor. It's on the shelves by the registers.
I have to give you some of that.
My daughter made me buy a chapstick in line one time because it was called chicken poop, and she couldn't wait to go to school with it putting chicken poop on her lips. Not that she's my child at all, but anyway. Oh gosh.
Oh, Chris.
So let's go to number 3.
Hold on,
One
Brady.
of the biggest.
Hold on, Brady. Chris says if they do custom ones, maybe we could get them to make one called Friday that smells like an absolute dumpster fire, and we can all gift one to Josh for birthday.
Smells like
You know,
garbage and
that-
BO.
Chris, that might be a brilliant idea. We need to have this Christmas season. We need to have our first annual play it by ear candle, a custom made candle, and sell.
Hey, isn't there like a destiny, like
Yeah.
one of
There's
those
a-
things?
There's a over in Anderson, right down from where Latitude used to be. There's a candle making place there, and I believe I'll have to talk. I think you can. I think they will make. I think you can sell them somehow. Like
Hey,
they will work. they'll-
Question
Okay.
of the night, though. What do we
Would you
smell
buy
like?
Well,
play it by
here's how we
ear
do it.
branded candles?
We have to go there. I've made several of them there. You go and they have a whole wall of scents, and then you pick out I think they tell you no more than 3 because if it gets too many, it just doesn't work well. And then
Mish
we could
mush.
each pick one. We could each pick a scent, put
I
it
have
in the
no
candle.
I have no sense.
You'll have to get
Well.
there and get your 3 cents worth.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of 3, the biggest lie, one of the biggest lies foisted upon us by sitcoms is that everybody should have their life together by age 30. That is a bunch of bunkum.
Does it give an example?
Yes. Hitting the big 3-0 in a sitcom is treated like a terminal diagnosis of some kind. Ted Mosby in How I Met Your Mother has his early midlife crisis. Rachel breaks down in tears at the thought of the natural process, and all manner of lost dreams are lamented. 30 isn't even old. You don't need to have gotten married and had kids by 29 to feel okay about yourself. Hear, hear.
Well, do you think though that some of that's playing on a different time? A different the average age of marriage is increased. What I'm talking about. First marriage, first kid, it's happening later in life, I guess is what I'm trying to
Yes.
say. So I think the sitcoms that most of this is probably referring to are at the latest 90s. So it's
Yeah.
still, I think it's just an old frame of mind of once you hit 30. So I can see that. New sitcoms probably wouldn't have that.
Right.
Probably not.
And I'm like to say I'm kind of living proof. We've talked about. I had a weird birthday when I was 25. That one
Oh, I
just hit me
hated
hard because
25.
I'm a quarter
Yeah.
century old, which is nonsense. But I was halfway to 30, but 30 was okay. I had no
Agreed.
problem with it. But I mean, and then that later in life thing. I mean, for Pete's sake, I'm 53 with a 9-year-old. I fit the total bill of that. When I was 30, I was kind of arrested development where my 30 was 21. And then all of a sudden by 34, I kind of grew up in those 4 years. I kind of
Yeah.
fast forwarded and just, you know, I don't know.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
laugh-
you're talking about somebody who didn't go, went back to college in my 30s.
Right.
Started teaching when I was 35. So it's everybody has their own pace or whatever you want to call it. Their own,
Yeah.
their own track.
And,
yeah.
but
But I can still see. I'm not going to knock sitcoms because I do think that would have been 1970s, 80s, even into the 90s. I mean, I think that was more of a. If anybody
issue.
can look that up, I would like to see what the average first marriage age was in like mid 80s versus now.
Yeah. I mean, for Pete's sake, if you go, probably it lowers each decade you go back. Like in the 1930s and 40s, people got married at 18, 19, 20. And it seems like that,
But,
you
but
know,
people
it
didn't
got
live as
pushed
long
back.
either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
So I was laughing at Josh's comment here, talking about the Friday candle. Said it would be a candle that would remind me of playing the Bean Boozled game, rotten milk, puke, and anchovies.
ooh, with a slight essence of ha Carl.
So this median age of Americans at their first wedding. See, this only goes back to 1998, but 2000 and up to 2022. So 2022, the median age for first wedding for men was 30 and a half. And women 28.6. Let's go back to the first year, 1998, 26.7 for men and 25. So what are we talking here?
5
4
years.
years difference for
Yeah.
men, and just
I
now
was
women,
25.
huh?
I was 25.
Yeah. So women though,
Yeah.
women it didn't change as drastically. 28.
Right.
Well, no, 33.6 years. So roughly 4 years difference from 98 to 2022.
How old were you when you got married, Todd?
I was younger than that. I was 23, 20, something like that.
Yeah.
23,
Oh.
and I
Well.
was 28 when Ethan was born, and 30 when Riley was born.
I was 29 when PJ was born. So Nancy was 17 when she got married. Mike was 23.
Let's hear everybody's age of first marriage.
Okay. And as
While,
those
while,
are
while we're
popping
going
up,
on,
now this one is going to spur some debate. For some reason, I cannot wait to see what Todd says about this. A lie foisted upon us by sitcoms is that it is possible that you could just keep getting dumber. It's called Flanderization, like Ned Flanders. It's a term used to describe a character retreating into their one and only personality trait. And sitcoms love to do this. The Office's Kevin Malone starts out, while not especially bright, certainly not being the oaf he ends up being. Thankfully, we tend to at least gain a little perspective as we age. But in sitcoms, the dumb characters just keep getting more ridiculous.
and they're all dads.
Yes. I was going to go there. You see very few female characters get this treatment. Like,
Yeah.
I hate to, gosh, it keeps funneling back to Friends. But Friends was a strange cast where it had two goofball characters. It had Phoebe and Joey, which were supposed to be like the not so bright goofballs. And that's really rare because.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting dynamic with sitcoms because there are So if we are having a topic that has to do with nautical, I'm going to look like the biggest idiot on the planet, and Brady's going to look very smart. So I guess what I'm getting at is we all have our topics where we could come off sounding dumb or come off sounding smart, and I think sitcoms honed in on that. You know what I mean? Like, and just kind of used that formula for the characters.
Yes.
But there are times where I feel like the older I get, the dumber I get in certain aspects. But obviously, the older you get, typically the more knowledge you become wiser.
Yeah.
You know.
So Todd, I thought of you on Sunday, sitting in church, and the guest preacher. It was obviously Father's Day, and talking about fathers are denigrated in society and run down and called idiots and fools, and then went on to talk about the importance of fathers in the family. And I said, well, yeah, that's what Todd always says, which is a lot of truth to that.
It's very true.
Yeah, you can't say that on a very big soapbox, or you'll get canceled. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. But it's definitely true, and it's funny how they snuck it in there on sitcoms and made it funny. I mean, again, my favorite show of all time is King of Queens, and that was the premise of it. Dumb man, attractive wife. He outkicked his coverage, that kind of thing.
Yeah. The other one I think of is and for some reason I always forget the name of the sitcom. It's the one where Jamie Gertz.
We've talked about this. That was a great show.
She has a oafish husband too.
Yeah.
And it's pretty funny, but Jamie Gertz is still, I still have my 80s kid crush on Jamie Gertz.
Yeah.
But
all right. Dennis, by the way, Dennis was 23 when he got married. Savannah was 28. There's a couple other people gave their ages. Josh says it's all a planned attack on the patriarchy, which I don't necessarily disagree with.
No, I agree completely.
I would. Yeah. Oh, that's what I was getting ready to say.
Married with Children. Did I see they're bringing Married with Children back? They're like, are they redoing it or?
No.
Get a new idea. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Why are we remake all these things and we change them? It's like, still standing. Was that the name of the show?
Thank you.
That was it was a great show. Yeah,
great show. I think the oafish, buffoonish dad was. It threw away the mold, like the archetype. Like think of like Ward Cleaver and Mike Brady and the courtship of Eddie's father and My Three Sons, where the dad was that, typical 50s, 60s dad, the Wonder Years. And I think people just thought it would be unique to, make him a goofball, but then it just stuck and they never got their hooks out of it.
Do you know the first show I remember doing that, though?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. When did that happen?
I think my first, the Cosby Show.
Well, I thought about that, but he really wasn't an oaf or a buffoon.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but
he was more down to earth.
But think about it. He was constantly getting scolded and have to be looked out for in the kitchen for eating the wrong foods. Especially there were, where he was dealing with like sodium issues and heart things like that. So like he was constantly being told what to eat and getting busted trying to enjoy a sandwich or something like that. Stuff getting slapped out of his hand. He couldn't fix anything around the house, and I relate to that. But you know what I mean? Like it was almost treated as a, and I think it was done. I think that was also done to knock him down a peg. Because obviously he was a doctor, he was a successful man. But and what I was going to say though was that show it wasn't the premise of it like a King of Queens or Everybody Loves Raymond, but there were hints of it. Do you know what I mean? Like because especially again the eating and the he messed things up. He was always having to sneak and do stuff because he would get scolded by his wife.
You know what doesn't age well is that episode of The Cosby Show where he put some secret ingredient in the barbecue sauce to make everybody amorous. But-
Gary has a good point. Archie Bunker could have been the first. But he didn't come off as a buffoon, though. He came off like he thought he knew what he was talking about. He was
Right.
He's made to look like a buffoon.
Correct. And then, man, I'm gonna have to think of some other ones because, like, I mean, you could even argue George Jefferson was kind of cartoonish.
True.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a
But-
Norman Lear thing. Was it Norman Lear that did it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Liming.
Yes. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you, Mom.
Sanford and Son. Yes.
Yeah.
There's another one.
Now there was a single dad making a go.
Yeah. What happened to? I guess he was a widower, maybe. Sanford.
Now, Josh,
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. Tim the Toolman Taylor.
that's
he
the
was the
one that
first
really
real
comes to
buffoon.
mind.
Yeah. He was the first one to be made look like a buffoon.
I agree. That's the first one I could think of where he was just supposed to be not. He couldn't not have a minder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
George
As was Fred Flintstone. Flintstone.
That's why we like you,
Mr.
Gary.
Flintstone was very animated. Oh man. Okay, so the next one, I gotta hit my switch here. Children are not all encompassing. Now, before let me give the explanation because when I read that at first blush, I was like, what? And it says that plenty of sitcom parents manage to keep up their weekly antics while taking care of their children, their homes, and their social lives, and their jobs. Lily and Marshall and How I Met Your Mother were a refreshingly real take on a couple tackling their individual goals while also trying to keep in touch with the group. The kids absolutely decimated their free time. That's realistic. If you think about think of the Brady Bunch. For gosh sakes, they had Alice come and do the heavy lifting. And, there was some unrealistic, especially like think of Lucy, the Lucille Ball show that when little Ricky was born, I mean, he was an ornament.
So, do you think that some of that had to do with the families in sitcoms being portrayed were of a certain socioeconomic status, so to speak?
Yeah.
Except for Good Times.
Well, yeah, and
That's
Sanford
true.
and Son. I mean,
Right.
but I think that's why Roseanne was such a big hit, though, because it was one of the first ones I remember, like, of a family that seemed like most families I knew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't seem fake.
Your problems
Right.
didn't get solved in 22 minutes.
Correct.
No. And it was, struggling with money. It was struggling with life in general. I really do think that's why it hit home and was such a popular show. And of course, I haven't watched it since they booted Roseanne from her own show.
Right. Well, now
Yeah.
it's over.
Yeah.
That show's over, I think.
Yeah, I don't know, Brady. I think it's all about a lot of it's about personal situation. Like, if someone, I think the amount that a child encompasses your life is determined by a lot of factors that can't be, cookie cuttered, if that's the word.
Right.
It's not a word, but cookie cut. Your where you live in relation to family and friends and things like that.
Right.
Comfort, that kind of thing, money. Oh,
Sorry.
we'll bring Waltons.
Yes. The Waltons.
Love that show.
Yeah, okay, man. I used to make fun of the Waltons tremendously. But when I finally watched it, it's actually a decent watch, but I still stand behind my favorite Twitter feed guy, Super 70 Sports, that if you came to lunch with your Waltons lunchbox, came to school, You're gonna be laughed out of the cafeteria.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of marketing was that?
Well, every show had a lunchbox.
Yeah,
But I mean, is a kid actually going to walk in with a Walton's lunchbox?
You know, did they have Little House on the Prairie lunchboxes? They should have been pails. They should have been like
pails.
like a lunch pail or a lunch basket or.
I had a Dukes of Hazzard lunchbox.
I'm trying to remember. I think I might have had a Dukes of Hazzard lunchbox at one time.
My
You
kindergarten.
You get canceled for that now, Eric.
Yeah, right.
Hope you
I
sold
just
it.
heard.
Probably still in my dad's cupboard, actually.
Yep. I just heard. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Todd.
I had a Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, really?
Nice.
I had
The
Conan
Marvel
Barbarian.
comics or the Arnold one?
What is it?
The Marvel comics version or the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie version?
Oh no, the Marvel, yeah, the Marvel one.
Yeah, because that was my very first lunchbox. Was a Marvel comics one.
Chris had taken an Alice when Flo was on the front. Well,
Put
kiss
some
my
grits in your thermos.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you can kiss them at lunch.
Yeah, okay. Side topic. Did anyone who in here use their thermos for drink versus used it for soup or like SpaghettiOs or something?
Drink.
Drank. I think mine was primarily for hot goods. Yeah.
I think I can remember doing both. I remember putting SpaghettiOs in my thermos. Because you know, it didn't take long before the SpaghettiOs stained the inside the thermos like Tupperware against that.
It would look like roadkill had been in there.
Yeah. But I don't remember. I mean, because I could see Eric using his for drink because of his hatred of milk. But you hate milk too, Brady.
Yeah.
So if you didn't put use in your thermos, what did
You had a
drink at
Capri
school?
Sun, of course.
Juice box, man.
They had them back
Capri
then. I
Sun.
didn't think they had juice
Way
boxes
back then.
What was that?
We went up the
Back
tree.
I never had
then.
juice boxes back in the
We
80s.
got that bark and made our own boxes. We pressed them, and then we squoze some apples from Grandma's
dip 'em.
orchard.
Dip them in wax so they don't leak.
Yeah.
So, did the thermos actually keep that stuff warm?
Oh, yeah. You get a third-degree burn on that stuff.
What? Still sat in there
I don't
for
remember it being-
4 hours.
I don't remember it being hot, but I remember it being warm enough.
I just, oh, hey, Chris. They were out of juice boxes, so that's my go-to, man.
Gosh, that's nothing but a swallow or two in that. That's not enough to keep a grown man's quenched.
Neither is the juice box.
No.
I
Why
was
don't
so
they make
happy
adult
when they-
juice boxes? I want a juice box the size of like a
a Stanley Cup?
encyclopedia.
Like that beef broth comes in, a juice box is that size. It's like a pint.
Yeah. Looks like
Nancy,
we had some comments, Eric. Did most people bring
Yeah.
drink or
Let's see.
swab?
Savannah said drink. Josh said drink. Nancy says food.
Nancy, since this is your first time here, I don't want it to sound like I'm poking fun, but what exactly was Holly Hobby?
Holly Hobby was a doll.
Was Hobby her last name?
Or was it?
Ms.
Did she
Hobby
just have a lot of
Nasty?
hobbies?
But easy.
What?
I don't know where you're going with this. Easy.
So what I see what he's
TV
asking, I mean,
14.
like, because I always wondered too, or was it a hobby? Was it like that was she had lots of hobbies, like she played all sports and various.
She kind of
games.
looked slightly Amish.
Yeah.
Slightly. Chris
But
said,
I never knew the story of Holly. I knew what she was. I mean, I could identify a Holly Hobby, but I didn't know the origin story or the backstory to Holly Hobby.
Chris had
That
some
would be
soup and some Chef Boyardee's in his.
yeah.
The chef, that's right.
The problem with drink in a thermos is the thermoses, the thermi, if you will, on the outside looked huge. But then when you got on the inside, they were so thick. The walls were so thick that you didn't have enough drink in there to get through lunch.
Right.
Smelled like a juice box.
I still
But at least
remember.
juice boxes don't lie.
Yeah.
You know how much juice is in there.
You know you're going to get barely enough to wet your whistle.
Yeah.
Chris hates milk too. Welcome to the club. Gary said there must have been a TikTok fad back in the day because Mom kept me a hot dog hot in a thermos of soup.
Are you kidding? You just had a hot dog floating in soup?
That just sounds so.
It sounds weird.
Nancy
Yeah,
hated
no, Nancy-
SpaghettiOs. Smell like
SpaghettiOs do have an odor. I never noticed it as a child, but as an adult, I can smell a can of SpaghettiOs being opened, 3 rooms down. It's got a very distinctive Parmesan-y smell.
We've established, though, Brady, you're part bloodhound.
I know. It's a curse
I
and a
lived
gift
it.
at times, but
I
So,
lived it. It's not a good thing.
Franco-American or Campbell's SpaghettiOs, Brady? Do
um,
both of them smell the same to you?
I am going to go with, I think it's the Franco-American ones, which is really weird because it's not French, it's Italian. Why is it called Franco-American?
Huh. I don't know.
Because Franco-Prussian War was if it was Franco-American, it'd be brie and croquettes in a, anyway.
Gary said. So, Gary, that's a true story. She put a hot dog just floating in a thermos of soup.
Hot viscous liquid just to keep the temperature.
Did you have a bun in there separate, like maybe a bun wrapped in a paper towel to keep it moist?
Moist.
Or keep it from getting moist. I meant. Then you got to pull your hot dog out of the soup, shake it off.
That sounds like a problem.
Then you got to put it in the bun. That's
All right.
that's a pretty efficient way to pack a lunch, though.
All right, here we go. Holly Hobby's story. 80s girls will recognize the bonnet-clad little girl and the way back when lifestyle she conjured up. Holly Hobby, the artistic creation of author/artist Holly Hobby. She named her character after herself. Denise Eulinxis married Douglas Hobby in 1964. In the late 60s, she created the character Holly Hobby and sold the image to American greetings cards.
Huh.
The beautiful watercolor painting struck a chord with Americans, and the image of the bonneted little girl in the patchwork dress became ubiquitous. Hobby's other popular creation, pig-centric television show Toot and Puddle, was produced from 2008 and 2009.
I just noticed something.
Holly Hobby enjoyed mild, pleasant activities like sewing, cuddling animals, and collecting wildflowers with her friends. The gentle, modest nature of Holly Hobby reminded us of slower and sweeter bygone times.
I just noticed that all the comments from Facebook don't show up on the comment stream here on the what's it called? What's our
StreamYard? I see him.
StreamYard. Did you know that?
I see him.
You see all of them?
I think so.
Huh.
I
just happened to look when I jumped on Facebook. I happened to notice that Danny chimed in on that the Roseanne talk and the Lunchbox talk, and I don't see it on the comments over here.
Chris, Todd is asking Brady's opinion on foods. The guy who thinks Vienna sausages need cooked.
Tell me about it, Chris.
they still need cooked, darn it.
You could put the Vienna sausages in the thermos of soup.
I'm really not saying this is a joke. I think I had Vienna sausage warmed in my thermos. I'm sure I did.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
actually, I was just wanted to tell.
I checked out of the school lunch scene when I got old enough and went home.
You were
I
one of
think
those
I checked out of the
guys.
school lunch scene once I saw a stewed tomato.
Ugh.
Then it was all over.
Had to run my black market candy ring.
You know, why don't they make a Vienna sausage bun?
That's true. Little bunlets.
Yeah.
Yes.
They make those the little at Chick-fil-A, the little
Yeah.
chicken bites. They make the little buns for
And
those.
they should name it after a prominent suburb in Vienna, which I don't know the name of. But whereas there's the Vienna sausage, and the bun would be named after a small suburb.
I'm gonna look up small suburbs in.
Vienna. If our crowd could come up with an actual suburb of Vienna, Austria, I will be more than impressed. Shall I go on to the next one?
Sure.
Continue.
One of the biggest lies foisted upon us about sitcoms is that you wake up looking wonderful. Like Jennifer Aniston on Friends, or that they just roll out of bed looking perfectly put together. When I roll out of bed, I look like a cross between a cadaver and a train wreck.
True dat.
I am not, my eyes are all swole. I look terrible. And I'm not even, yeah. So.
How much of that? I'm going to get really deep here on this one. How much of that is in your head, though?
Oh, no, I look, yeah. My thing is my eyes are really puffy, and my bed head is legendary. I cannot roll out of bed and have a coif. It is a mess.
Well, because I read something. Well, I think we might have talked about this in one episode. Chris could tell us if we've talked about it or not. But I think I read somewhere once that people typically have a lower, what do you want to call it, opinion of their physical attractiveness.
Yeah.
Than other people would give them.
Oh yeah, we're all our own worst critics.
So I just wonder how much of that is.
And I mean, I'll have to roll out of the sack tomorrow and take a selfie.
Send us a selfie, Brady. Yeah.
And because it's rough. I mean, it's literally because of my eyes. It's just something that I've always dealt with. So it's my coif and my eyes.
Well, I mean, I got all kinds of things going on. I got a CPAP, and I've got a head gear that I put on, a head strap. So
you get my head gear.
No, because if your mouth is open and you have the CPAP in, it just dries your whole head out. So you got to keep your mouth closed. So you got a strap around my head, and I mean it's a awful looking thing. I can never go to bed. I like take a shower the night before and wash my hair and get up and get my hair. I mean, I gotta wash my hair in the morning.
Been CPAP'd.
I bought something the other day. Shaquille O'Neal sold it to me. It was a little infomercial that I saw him talking to a lady about a mouthpiece that he wears when he sleeps to keep from snoring, and I bought it. And two nights in a row now, I have read up on it, and I'm too lazy to even do with the mouthpiece what you have to do to get it to use it at night. It's a pain in the ass. I'd rather snore.
It doesn't go there. That's why.
So
sorry.
I mean, you gotta boil water. You gotta put it in the water. And you have to have a bucket of cold water, and then you gotta put it in you gotta jut your bottom jaw, your jaw forward, and put it in and get it fit, and then you put it back in hot water to seize it. Once you get it fit,
that's like doing a football mouthpiece.
Man.
Yeah,
like doing a football mouthpiece.
Except for this costs more, and it says you get 3 tries basically before it starts. So now I'm panicked and anxious over it.
Yeah,
I had to do that.
You know what the question was in my mind? Does the mouthpiece actually go in your mouth? You said you were too lazy to. Does it go somewhere else to keep you from snoring?
No, it's in your mouth, but I'm like, because I keep reading it like right when I'm getting ready to go to bed, and I'm like, I'm too tired to mess with it tonight. I need to, and I'll probably do the same thing tonight.
I strained a jaw ligament spending the night at my on my very last day of high school. My friend Brian's house. His brother was gone someplace, so I just crashed in his bed. And it was one of those super wavy water beds, and I strained a jaw ligament on that darn water bed, and I had to sleep in this plastic can opener looking thing in my mouth for about a year. It's terrible. It was awful.
But the reason I brought that up, Eric, is because I think this, if this is the last step before getting a CPAP,
CPAP.
myself. So, yeah. So I'm hoping this mouthpiece works, but I just got to actually.
Do you
Get
get
it
kicked
working.
out of bed? That you
No,
snore
I
so bad?
can't because she has one. I mean, I can, but yeah. I mean,
There is this
she has a
popular,
machine.
Oh, didn't know
I
that.
do my best sleeping when she uses her machine.
Oh, it's
kind of like
a
a fan noise,
lifesaver.
isn't it?
I never knew how much I wasn't sleeping till I had that.
No, there's no noise to it. It's just that she doesn't snore when she. Well, for the most part, she doesn't snore when she uses it.
There is this product that was being sold. It's called Z Quiet or something, and it was that like help people with sleep apnea. But it had a little gap in the mouthpiece. But then there was like all these where people were putting like those things that you blow on like whoo unroll. They were putting that in the Z Quiet, and people all night would be like pluming.
Have you heard about the mouth taping?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, people. It literally is a certain type of tape, I guess, that stays on real well. But you tape your mouth shut when you sleep.
That's what my
Now, the
headgear
thought
is
of that-
supposed to do.
The thought of that scares the crap out
Oh
of
yeah,
me.
that sounds terrifying, man.
Yeah. Of course, maybe it's a little bit of PTSD if my grandpa always threatened to tape my mouth shut when I was a kid.
Oh man.
Never actually did it, but
Ah.
I don't. Cause see, I'm my nose. I don't breathe well through my nose,
Yeah.
so I would think I would just constantly wake myself up not being able to breathe if I tape my mouth
Yeah.
shut.
I had to have a CPAP machine until I got my nose fixed. I'd broken my nose as a Ute, so I was only getting like 15%, and they had to like roto-rooter my nose out, and then that kind of cured my issue, but it was not pleasant.
Sorry, I didn't mean to punch you that hard.
Actually, my sister did it, but she accidentally headbutted me when I scared her when she was watching Saturday morning cartoons, and I took one in the nose. I remember getting headbutted, but that could be the only. It's the only strike to the nose that I can remember. It had to be it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing worse than a hit to the nose.
This last one on the list. Lies that sitcoms foisted upon us that siblings cannot exist without drama. Speaking of my sister, now I'm joking that she accidentally broke my nose, but my sister and I never had a crossword. There was 6 years age difference, so I get that, but we were always pleasant with each other.
I'm going to take the side of the sitcom with this. I think that's pretty rare, Brady. That's awesomely rare. The reason I can relate to that because I have a sister. I have two sisters, and my oldest sister. I've never had an argument. We've never. But there was 12 years difference in age.
Yeah.
But even as adults, we've never had an argument. Now I'm sure I've pissed her off, and I'm sure she's been mad at me and things like that. But she's never told me if she was. And my, not that I fight with my other sister, my brother, but we have had our disagreements and things. And
Yeah.
But I think it's a rarity to not have drama between siblings.
Let me tell you what they say. This might shed a different light on it because I have to say I jumped the gun on it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what they're talking about. You never get a friendly visit in a sitcom. Everyone who walks through your door has a harebrained scheme that's bound to occupy your life for a little while. And siblings only exist in sitcoms to act as competition or conflict. They either have their life together too well or they're a huge mess. It's one or the other. There's just no normal siblings. And I get that.
What was the show? What was the show with the sister of the wife lived with them? They actually lived like out in their backyard in like a guest house.
Was it Roseanne?
No, no. Yes, dear. Was it Yes, dear?
Oh, yeah. I think you're
Where
correct.
like the husband and wife, and then her sister and her husband lived in the house. Yeah, okay. Because that is a dynamic that happens a lot in sitcoms, but I don't know. I never really thought this topic would make me think like it does. As far as like,
I know.
is the sitcom just trying to capture a dynamic that they know is out there, and then they just
Exaggerated.
exaggerate it or beat it
Um,
to death?
I
You know,
mean, this isn't even a sitcom, but like one of my favorite shows of all time was Burn Notice. And the main character, Michael Weston, his younger brother, was a foil with a gambling problem. And he was always having to bail him out of messes.
but don't you think that's? I don't know. What do you think, Eric? What is your take on that?
Um, I think children in sitcoms, especially from our formative years, I think they were used as the foils, the creators of angst, the
Irritants.
irritants. Yeah, that's a good word. That's why they existed there. And then the parents had to come in and solve everything.
Right.
That was kind of the formula.
Marsha.
And Todd, I think you had it right. I think Roseanne probably was the first one that really didn't go by that formula as much
Yeah.
Yeah.
because their problems were kind of ongoing, but
Yeah.
everything else is kind of encapsulated in that 30-minute or 22-minute with the commercials segment.
I often think on these types of articles. Here's what I think. Now they work out for us because this is what we do. We kind of pick them apart and we use them to springboard for their conversation.
Yeah.
But sometimes I also look at it and think, when I think of a Karen, I think the people that write these articles are the biggest examples of Karens. Do you know what I mean? Like, can you
Yeah.
not just enjoy the show and
Without
Suspend
parsing every
disbelief.
single.
Suspend
Yeah.
disbelief.
And I would hate to think that every show I watch, I'm like dissecting it and
My father was always good for that. What ruined him is when we went out to California when I was about 8 years old and went to Universal, and then he thought he knew all the tricks. So we couldn't watch a movie or a TV show. It was like Dukes of Hazzard. Now you know when that car would hit it, just bend the frame in half. Yeah, yes, I do.
And
That's not real.
sometimes they wouldn't splice the film and you would see it bend in half and then it would drive away.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
But with the whole idea of television and movies and things being an escape from reality,
exactly.
you know, it's tough to.
and
If I
that's
wanted to watch something real all the time, it's an
Yeah.
escape. Like you said, it's an escape.
But we also want that. We want realistic fiction at times.
true.
Yes.
Well, and that's really my barometer for any show. If I get to a point where I cannot any longer suspend my disbelief, and it's not a sitcom, but I will give you the biggest offender.
No what you're. Can I predict?
Go ahead.
Was it Dusk Till Dawn?
No.
Okay.
I mean, that was bad. That was bad. I mean, to the point of me exclaiming in a theater. That was bad. But no,
But it was good for a while, wasn't it?
It was really good for a while until it wasn't.
It was a bank robber flick, and he didn't realize the vampire thing was going to happen.
Yeah.
So when the exotic dancer all of a sudden had a 10-foot forked tongue, I just remember Eric saying, "What the Hades?" in disbelief is going on here.
I would have liked to have been there, but I could just picture it.
No, the biggest TV show offender, 911. Do you watch 911?
Now, is 911 like a newer show or?
Like
Well,
a
it's-
reality show or the
No,
new?
no.
Okay.
The drama
Yes.
911 that was on Fox. Now it's on ABC. I mean, it's about firefighters and paramedics and people. So Becky, for whatever reason, puts on shows to act as background noise, really, but she puts on 911, and we're going back through the old episodes, and I know where it got to the point where I could no longer watch it. And we watched the episode the other day, or was kind of
It was
in
so
the background.
ridiculous.
They survived a tsunami. They were on the Santa Monica Pier, saw the tsunami coming, ran down the pier into the street. The tsunami came, and he was able to hold on to a light post while the tsunami was dragging everything, like cars going by, and he's holding on to the light post. I'm like, get out of here.
The only surviving written account of Krakatoa in the 1800s was a Dutch embassy worker that tied himself with hemp rope to a coconut palm, and he barely didn't make it, and he was tethered on that thing. So that would be absolutely ridiculous.
Well, and not to mention now that this character had his friend's little boy with him who was had crutches. I mean, he was so he gets swept away in the water away from the other guy, and just so happens he dives into the water and finds him. Well, of course. It's a tsunami. Of course he did.
I thought you were going to
Come
tell
on.
me the kid on crutches was surfing on the crutches.
Well,
Like water skis.
It would have been no more unbelievable than what actually happened in the show.
I
Let's
thought
put
you
it
were
that
going to
way.
tell me at the end he hobbles out and says, "God bless us, everyone."
Well,
No, but Eric, let me play devil's advocate. Isn't that heading down a slippery slope though of not being able to enjoy any fictional TV?
no, there's fiction that all the fiction I enjoy, and it shows that I like The Shield. I could see all that stuff happening the way it did, and all these people
Yeah.
being corrupt. Totally understand it could happen. That thing with the tsunami, no, does not
you
happen.
can't wrap your head around MacGyver like making a satellite comm link out of a gum wrapper and a piece of dental floss and
No.
a matchstick.
Now my wife loves MacGyver, but no.
I think that's a slippery slope.
It-
Now,
it'd be-
if you just do not like, if you only like realistic fiction, I'll give you a pass. But if you like other types of fiction, I don't know how you draw the line.
Well, I probably could say I only like realistic fiction.
Yeah, and that's
because
what
if it
I
gets
mean.
too unrealistic, then I just
But
can't do it.
We have a friend who he is known for making fun of remember House, making fun of the not on my watch thing,
Not
as,
on my
as if
watch.
that was the and you liked House, and
I did
I
like
don't
House.
know that House was very realistic at certain points.
Well, what do you mean? You mean the medicine or the character?
Both.
Both.
Well,
Both.
Which we've said before. We love the character. We love the idea of you're so valuable. You're so irreplaceable at your job that you can
not be fired.
basically be a pill popping.
Curmudgeon.
Yeah.
Malcontent.
Not that we want to be pill poppers in our jobs, but I'm just saying like that. But there were some unrealistic, and you like medical dramas to begin with, and honestly, I have to say I don't know enough about the medical field to know how much of it's far fetched and what's realistic. And
See, and what I like finding on the internet is like the shows, and then people who actually work in that field will tell you why the show wasn't realistic. Although me as a layperson watches House and think, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say it wasn't outlandish at some points, but it wasn't outlandish enough to where I gave it up.
Yeah.
Right.
But then you watch, some doctors will write synopses, whatever the word is, of an episode and say, well, this doesn't happen this way and that doesn't happen this way. And kind of makes you think.
Imagine how much it would suck to watch a show as those guys, though. Like you wouldn't get any enjoyment out of it. It would be like us.
Like us watching teacher dramas.
Yeah.
Well, Boston Public. Did you ever watch Boston Public?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, totally unrealistic.
Or Glee.
Well, yeah, Glee too. Yes.
God.
I mean, even one that was supposed to be serious. Dangerous
Time out.
Minds. Dangerous Minds.
Oh, yeah.
She had one class a day, and she put all her effort in that one class. Like, come on.
Yeah. I want to back up with the Glee thing. Now, I was not a. I mean, I watched some Glee. That's different though, Brady. That was a musical.
I know. It was just.
I mean,
I did
just
not
the
like
fact
that
that it's a
show.
musical alone makes it unrealistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking
I
about.
know,
I love
know.
musicals. I mean, if that's the case, then you got to throw out Grease,
Well,
and you got to throw out the best Grease 2. I mean, I can't do that.
yeah, Electric Boogaloo, absolutely. but
going
but gentlemen,
the,
I think that pretty much wraps up. There's a couple others, but I could save those in the hip pocket for later. So I think this was definitely a mental exercise more than I thought.
Yeah.
Let me get some comments here that were put up. Jim says, lies, lies, lies. My brothers and sisters always had problems. Now me, and I was kind of like, you say Teresa was 12 years older than you, Todd, and my sister's 11 years older than me, and my brother's 13 years older than me, and my sister acknowledged me enough when I was young to call me a cretin every once in a while. My brother didn't acknowledge me at all. So
What is she, a Ramon? Use the
Well,
word cretin.
I mean, this was the mid 70s, late 70s.
Yeah.
So.
Was that a term? Because I always wonder why, like, I think we've talked about this. I get deja vu so often on this show. Would have your sister known the Ramones back? I mean, what if she?
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah. Because they were stuck on cretins as a whatever.
Chris says Guest House and Backyard, definitely Yes Dear was the show.
Good show.
Said he never watched the show, but didn't Dexter and his sister have a good relationship? They did.
Yeah, they
Dexter. Chris, you got to watch Dexter.
Love
it's
Dexter.
One of the top 5 greatest shows ever.
Did you like the redo?
I did.
Dexter?
I didn't finish it. I have to be honest. We watched a couple episodes and then got sidetracked. I can't imagine
Go
it
back
was.
and, it wasn't as good, but it wasn't bad. You're gonna go
Yeah.
back and finish it.
I need to do that.
Gary says if you jump before the tsunami hits, you can survive. And that's pretty much the premise of 911, I think. And he's also with me, at least make me think it could happen on the show. Yes, I can't. My disbelief meter is getting shorter and shorter by the year.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you did there. All right. Good topic.
Yeah.
Okay. So our second topic, and we really didn't prepare Chris for this, although he can certainly chime in or whatever he'd like to do on this. This is his list, and I guess the audience can chime in as well. I don't know how some of our audience is brand new to the show, and some people been around a while, but you can...
Chris jumped in with vigor.
I was going to say this is a first. This is 165 episodes, and this is a first.
Yeah.
We've never really. I think in the early days, didn't we do some like suggestion? Like people would suggest some topics, and we would.
Yeah. There was a couple things suggested to us, but this has been the first one that's been prepared by an earbud.
Can I propose that we take this as a catalyst, and we maybe once a month or something like that, maybe do a audience or suggestion or friends suggested topic.
Yeah.
That would help
do that.
us.
Certainly.
Sorry, Eric, go ahead.
All right. So last week, Chris sent me or us or sent to the podcast email. He's watched every episode or listened to because we were only doing audio at first. But he has taken in some form or fashion every one of our 164 episodes, although he made this list after 162, I think. So the most recent 2 are not part of this list, but he made his own top 10 favorite Play It By Ear podcast episodes / moments. So I'm going to read his little description of his list here. After countless hours of listening and endless laughs, I thought that I would do a little something for the cast and crew of the Play It By Ear podcast. I guess I'm the crew. I'm a part of the cast and the crew.
The Rod crew.
Rod crew. This is by no means from any source of credibility or ranking professional, just my thoughts and opinions, which are of the utmost importance as our resident historian. And that was my part of it. I hope reading this takes you guys down memory lane a bit and gives you a chance to revisit some great memories in the history of your podcast. Thanks for the great show, fellas. Well, we're here to please. Thank you. So, again, this is Chris's top 10 Play It By Your podcast episodes. And we decided we'll play this. We'll read his kind of description of the show from his point of view, and we will put in our 2 cents worth of our memories.
We will
of that.
opine and remember.
Yes. Opine and remember, yes. All right, number 10. I feel like David Letterman. Episode 88. Now, episode numbers in some cases may mean something to the three of us. In most cases, maybe not, because we can't really remember, or at least I can't. Maybe you all can. But
No.
Episode 88, does that trigger any memories, gentlemen?
It does not.
Off
Does
top of your
not.
I
head.
have to hear a description.
Okay. So episode 88, on this particular night, Todd gives us a rundown of the lamest toys of the 80s, and Brady starts a bracket he dubs Last Man Standing, which to this day has never been finished due to the fact that Mr. Liming is the first teacher ever to use the dog ate my work excuse.
I remember that. The dog ate my list. And it was lost or air. Oh my gosh.
I had not read this list until now. I saw it in the email. I brought it up to make sure it was there.
Oh my gosh. And I really do not remember what it was. You know, I don't remember any particulars, but I do remember I couldn't finish it because it was it.
Is Eric frozen on your screen, Brady?
He is, and
He
he's
gone.
now gone. He
He
gone.
gone. He'll be back. Don't worry.
Well,
So this Last Man Standing, what was the idea?
I think it was a toy bracket, an 80s toy bracket, and it was lengthy, and we were going to postpone it to do part 2 the next week, and the dog ate my notes, and I couldn't find I couldn't find the list. I couldn't find it. It was like it disappeared, and I couldn't find it, and the dog literally ate my homework, which she happens to be laying right here looking at me, sort of. So does this look like the pooch that would eat the homework?
Yes, they all will.
Yes.
That's how they get you.
Apologies, gentlemen. I don't know what happened there. My computer did something odd.
It's the heat. It's the heat.
It is the heat.
Oh, Chris. Okay, it was action stars fighting each other, and who would win?
Oh, I'm way off. I thought it was a toy bracket of some kind.
Well, there you go.
And the thing is, it's strucken from my memory because I was upset by it.
I'm going to make a note right here. We need to bring that back.
There you go.
Action.
Did we make our own bracket, or did you find it somewhere?
I found it someplace, and I was never able to find it again to even remind myself. I never could find, and you know how hard that is these days? Like, you could usually have it in your, your search history. It was gone. I could not find it.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Well, and now, Chris, how we would remedy that now is we would send it to each other.
Yeah.
As a top, and at least somebody would have it on their phone.
Right.
But yeah, we need to do some digging, and if we can't find it, we could make our own.
Make our own.
So, Chris, was it like when you say action stars, like John Rambo versus
Rocky?
Rocky versus
same guy.
versus Chuck Norris in the Octagon, or
or, is that what you meant, or was it
John McClane?
Maybe we should go back and listen to our own show.
I'm gonna, like I said, because that one's kind of scarred me because I felt
Brady,
like I
think
let
you're
the whole
getting mixed
brand
up with
down.
mine, as Gary says there. I think mine was a toy bracket. Oh, Chris has the bracket.
Has
Look
it?
at that.
Oh, how about
Oh my
See,
gosh!
Chris-
You are the historian, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, why couldn't have we just gone back and listened to the original bracket in the first episode?
Yeah.
Could
We'll,
have.
we'll make that our work.
You see, Chris, the dog eating my homework doesn't fly for me as a teacher, and it's not going to fly for you as a fan and historian of this podcast. Brady's lame excuse.
He said somehow Daniel LaRusso got on the bracket.
I remember that.
Why wouldn't
remember
he?
that. Now that you mentioned that, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it because, like I said, I mean, it really affected me. I felt like an unprofessional hack, but I just couldn't find it.
You know what this list is already doing for me, and I used to think, how can you be like a rock star, having written a song, put a song on an album, and then totally forget it? How's that happen? Now I see how that happens just looking at this list here.
Yeah.
I mean, we got 4 years worth of episodes here, and I mean, things trigger as I read these descriptions, but
Like Richard Marx. I mean, how could he have these legions of fans that have followed him all these years and forget about that and say something completely stupid like he does to piss off half of his audience?
Exactly. All right, number 9.
I got to be honest. Chris scares me because one of these days he's going to get Richard Marx to come and talk to me. I have a feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm going to need to be on my A game.
Are you scared of Richard Marx?
I'm not scared of Richard Marx. I'm afraid of being unprepared for a debate with Richard Marx.
Because he's gonna have people that compile
Yeah,
things.
Yeah. All right. So back to the list.
Number 9. And this is a mere 3 episodes ago.
Oh,
Episode 162, so it should be fresh in our memories. Even as a recent episode, this one is a game changer for the Play It By Ear podcast. I had a genius idea to have a watch-along with a forgotten game show that no doubt inspired Jerry Springer. The entire episode is great, but I really outdid myself with this idea. I won't refer to myself in the third person here, but
Well, I wish you would because I don't know if it's Chris saying he did or you did.
well, no, okay. So Eric has this genius idea to have a watch along with a forgotten game show that no doubt inspired Jerry Springer. The entire episode is great, but Fiskus really outdone himself with this idea.
there we go,
There you
man.
go. That was
And
that was a lot of fun and different.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the cool thing about that, Chris, and you can chime in, or anyone can chime in, obviously, but with us, a lot of times what we feel or experience isn't the same as what other people are. There have been lots of episodes where I've gotten off here. We've even talked, like we've gotten to them like, that didn't. And then like I'll go and see, we'll be still laughing in the bedroom, like after listening to it and tell me how much, like it's, so we don't always get,
We don't get our own humor.
Yeah.
Well, we don't always get we don't always get
you
the
don't
same.
know our own power.
But also we've also cracked ourselves up before and like literally thought it was the funniest thing ever, and then like it'll be like the least viewed episode, the least listened to episode, and so
Unkept Jose.
that's interesting to hear because I think that episode, you probably, if you would go back and watch that, we didn't quite know what to do.
I was slack-jawed because I just couldn't not look away. I was like, I couldn't comment because I'm like, this is real.
Yeah, we didn't quite know what to do. So I'm glad, Chris, that at least to you, it didn't come off as. I think that shows off the organicness of our program, though, because like we didn't prepare. It's not like we sat and watched that thing and then said, "Hey, wouldn't it be funny if Eric said this here and Brady said this here?" So.
No, and to be fair, I said on the episode as well, I got the idea from watching a YouTube of John Boy with them doing a watch along of it. And I had watched the show. I'd watched as many episodes. I think I've seen all the episodes of the show because it used to be on the Game Show Network, and it was such a train wreck. I watched it every time I saw it because it's just unbelievable. So yeah, I got the idea from them, but then I saw them doing it. I thought, oh man, we got to do that.
And that's also something that maybe we could do more of.
Yeah.
Because I will tell you this, our audience, if I don't know how many people are with us right now, but
10.
For those of you also that'll be listening in the future, which is always weird to me that we're also doing this. We forget sometimes that we're doing this not only for the people who are with us and chiming in, but also people who are listening later.
Yeah.
But we've always talked about we're big Mystery Science theater fans.
Oh,
And we've always talked about we talked about doing that 30 years ago.
yes.
Setting up kind of like a way for us to do a Mystery Science Theater type performance or whatever you want to call it, where we watch a movie and chime in.
My suggestion is just not doable. But I always thought it'd be funny for us to do a watch along of that very special episode of Different Strokes,
Oh man,
and it just would not go well.
no, it would not.
All right. Back to the list.
Jim concurs
James.
that that was one of our better episodes. All right, number 8, episode 89.
Oh, right. So one after the 88.
Yeah, it's one
Ooh,
after we were on a roll.
Yeah.
Brady brings to the fold a cartoon bracket that Eric finds the seeding of to be absolutely ludicrous.
Shocker that Eric would ever.
The gang tried to decipher what animals the shirt tails are exactly. It also becomes unanimous. also becomes unanimous that Scooby Dum is far superior to Scrappy Doo.
We are serious people.
As the tournament rolls on in this episode, let's not forget that Todd asked us the legitimate question as to if any other cartoon was ever graced with the presence of Dick blanking Van Dyke.
Oh. Listen to us guffaw. Like you said, the thought of a bunch of grown anus men talking about what species of animals the shirt tails were. That's peak
Eric,
society there.
Eric bitching about the seating. that's every bracket.
You agree with me most of the time.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. But we call you the bracket master. I mean, you were a bracket master long before we ever did this podcast. So if any of us would have a problem with the seating of a bracket, it would be you.
If you ever want to laugh to yourself at strange moments, every character replace the word "do" with "dung." Scooby Dung, Scrappy Dung, and Daisy Dung. It just really becomes funny because I often wondered if Scooby Doo it was referring to his
Excrement.
scat. Yeah. So
I don't think so. I think it was because he did. Scooby Doo, he did.
It's got two O's. How can it be
Scooby Dun
Scooby
did.
Doo done
Well,
did?
The hardest I ever made, one of my fifth graders ever laughed. For whatever reason, at recess, they were doing something with like making a Scooby Doo reference, and I told him to Scooby don't.
Scooby Commerce. Yes, Gary. We tackle these big issues so everyone else doesn't have to.
Right.
Uh,
All right.
Oh,
Number
man.
7.
Hang on, real quick. Wow.
Quiz.
Chris has a suggestion of us doing So I Married an Axe Murder if we ever do the watch along. That
I don't know if
The
we
only
can
thing
do
is
anything to that.
So I Married an Axe Murder is a fantastic movie, and typically the premise is you do a bad movie.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's how can you improve upon greatness?
That's true. Yes.
The gold standard. All right. Well, Nancy, glad to have you.
Thank
Nancy
you,
has
man.
to go.
Yeah. Thanks, Nancy.
Thanks, Chris, for telling her about it. Hopefully, you have a new earbud.
That's right.
Thank you. All right, number 7, episode 84. We must have really been on a roll in the 80s there. It stands
Did
to
we
reason,
peak in the
doesn't it?
80s?
It stands to reason, doesn't it? All right, play it by ear. New Year's. The gang teaches us all about different New Year's traditions. Hilarity ensues after Todd teaches us all about hanging onions.
I forgot about that.
Care to refresh our memories about hanging onions, Todd?
I don't remember. Was that like a?
It was a list of world customs and hanging onions in one's home. He's going to look it up.
What did that do?
Oh man, I remember. I have some fond memories of every time we tackled world customs, like weird sports and holiday traditions. It always, I still chuckle every Christmas about the Yule lads.
Yeah, so that's a Greek New Year tradition. The hang onions.
Instead of
Onions
watching the
are
ball drop, they watch the onions being hanged.
Hanging onions sounds like there's definitely a testicle
Reference.
sheen on that saying, isn't there?
Yeah, he got kicked in his hanging onions.
Or like that picture I sent you of the dog the other day. That dog was hanging onions for sure.
It was New Year's for that dog, certainly. Speaking of the ball dropping.
Those of you listening, my son and his girlfriend, they will often go to the animal shelter and take a dog out for the day. It's very very cool of them. It's awesome. She's been doing it, I guess, for several years, and then now that they've been doing that together, they go to OU and they were both off in the summer, so they go like once a week and go over to the Humane Society or the animal shelter or whatever it is, and they take a dog out and they take it for a walk and go get it a pup cup uptown and things like that. Well, this particular dog, I had to send a picture of these guys because this poor pooch, was
well endowed in the onion department.
It was something. It did not. It was almost like they didn't match that dog. Which was really weird because the dog was a female, but I'm just kidding.
What?
I'm just kidding.
Oh, you confused me there.
Brady.
Don't read that one out loud.
Well, Chris, just so you know, I sent them the picture of that dog and I said the Brady liming of dogs.
Oh man.
All right, number 6, episode 17.
Ooh.
This episode inaugurates a topic that we've come to see often and love dearly, the instant classic, Am I the asshole?
Was this the first one?
Must have been. In this take of the podcast, we also learn about the fella's cars growing up and the tragedy of being terrorized because of a quote-unquote friend enjoying a fresh trout dinner.
Every time I see that friend, I bring that up. I have to. That Chris, I'm not sure if you caught this, but it's the same friend that had the birth salad. We've talked about birth salad. That's the same friend.
Oh.
Fresh trout dinner. The funniest part about that to me, I probably touched on it in that show, is who in the hell as a teenager was eating fresh trout as a lunch?
Oh, if you knew his grandmother, she could cook.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Man.
Yep.
Well, I mean, my grandma could cook too, but I never had fresh trout as a lunch. That's not a Sardinia or a Brown County delicacy.
Number 5.
I gotta go. I'm gonna go back and re-listen to these now.
Yeah. Episode 104. Eric causes a rise when his game of ducking high asks a question of what you would say to your dog if you could talk to him or her for 30 seconds and completely understanding you. The question escalates to dogs having no butt cheeks and Todd challenging the hygiene of Brady's dog's posterior, just to have Brady go on the defense with an explanation of squeezing a toothpaste tube between two balloons.
Oh.
Well, that from the beginning of this, I've often said too much, and I will again here tonight. So the other day, I have a rule with my dog that tail down at all times if you're pressing against me.
So
How
did
do
you
you-
read the dog this rule?
Go
How do you-
down at all
how-
times if you're
how
president.
do you
of this
how do you
park.
enforce that?
You push their tail down, and so
Doesn't it just pop right back up?
the other day, my dog had jumped up on the couch and was she likes to kind of position herself where she kind of cozies back and sits, kind of up against my legs or whatever. And so I had to, I'm like, tail down. I got to push her tail down. Well, then my daughter comes out and she gets the dog all riled up. And so there's a lot of dog moving around and stuff. And we find out that my dog apparently did not wipe very well when it went outside.
Did you get a starfish print on your shorts?
No, Riley got something on her ankle.
Ew.
Oh,
Which my son comes out hearing all the chaos and says, when he finds out, he's like, Riley has to be the first person in history to get a skid mark on her ankle.
Nice.
So again, I would not argue. Brady was very defensive. I remember that. Brady would argue that that could never happen with his dogs. And I assure you, Brady, that there are probably times you don't know it. They can't clean themselves.
well, they do the grass drag.
How do you
You
know
know?
how efficient the factory is? How do you know how efficient the
Well-
cleanup mechanism is with a dog, especially as they get older?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, you were saying where you were compared it to people and have to wipe between their butt cheeks, and it's like, well, that's because it was like, what did I say? A tube of toothpaste squeezing between two balloons. It's gonna get in a dog just in, yeah.
I think the reality is that our dogs are probably not as clean as we realize, but we seldom get a front row seat for it. The lesson out there is you should probably clean your own dog. Eric,
him a little-
not being a dog owner, doesn't have to worry about this.
Somebody's gonna have to create the dog.
The dog.
The dog.
Puts his paw on it. And, yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I had that. Well, the funniest part about that is the the me being on the offense and Brady being defensive about it. That's the funny part
Talking
to
about my
me.
dog's butt like that.
And I'm just
Because
in
if I were to
neutral
say
territory.
Brady, your dog just rubbed against me, and I don't think it's completely clean down there, Brady would fight me to the death.
All right, number 4. There are 2 episodes tied for number 4. Episode 73 and 131. This rank has 2 episodes because they go hand in hand so well. Anyone who has ever wrote or for that matter even read a product review, you can't go wrong with either of these. In episode 73, we get the infamous sugar-free gummy bear reviews. And in 131, we learn about such things as a teeth whitening system that works so well, your teeth will be so white that they'll start taking other people's land.
Oh, I remember that moment well because, oh my gosh! As soon as you said that, you were struggling to get it out and trying to guess if you should say it or not.
Yes.
Oh man, that was great.
Chris, definitely, we would be happy to do that. Chris asked at the end of the list that he'd be interested in hearing each of our favorite episodes.
Yes. All right, number 3. Episode 161. So now we're 4 episodes ago. This episode was an instant classic. In Eric's Game of the Night, Would You Rather, the boys are questioned if they would rather be 15 minutes late for everything for the rest of their lives or find a snake in the toilet while conducting commerce. After a low-hanging fruit joke or two, Todd teaches the hosts a new term explaining what happens if you spend too long sitting on the toilet and breaks the host as well, I'm sure, most if not all the audience.
Shithouse polio.
Oh, we got the piper down. Oh,
What's sad is that we are just now safe. Enough time has gone by where we can make that joke and not get canceled.
Gosh.
That's why I'm broken again. I'd forgotten the term until you said it again.
Oh man. Oh.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's like I compartmentalize these shows and they go away after we do them. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I forgot.
Man.
Number 2, episode 93. Here, Brady brings us a bracket of the worst places to conduct commerce.
Shocker.
Todd finds a new topic to discuss. TIFU. Today
Yeah.
In his findings of people devising their own demise, we learn of a man who had a less than fortunate day, which started its downfall by chasing away a horny cat with pennies.
I remember that. That's when the guy yelled out the window. He's like, "Shut your mouth, you hoe." And somebody called the cops because they thought it was a domestic abuse, and he was like shooing away a caterwauling cat. Oh. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we ready for number 1?
We are.
I waiting with bated breath.
He even takes the number out of this because it's a standalone moment. Episode Brady drops the F-bomb.
Did not.
The number of episode isn't the importance here, which it's 153, by the way, if you want to go back and listen and make your own determination. But the highlight of this all-around great episode is Brady, quote, pure as the driven snow, unquote, liming, clearly, in capital letters, clearly, at timestamp 51 minutes and 47 seconds, drops an F-bomb and adamantly no-sells it and probably still does to this day.
That's perfect. That is awesome.
Oh, the thing is, like, it was a tongue tie. If I said it, I wasn't even. It just was a flubbed.
Your mother said you said it.
What?
Your mother said you said it.
I didn't say it. It enunciated what could be misconstrued as that.
So Brady has the only. I would think most people would bet money that I would have been the first person to drop an F-bomb on this show. But Brady has not only. He's the first person to drop the F-bomb and the first person to pass to break wind.
That was the. Now that one, I'm not. I can understand why somebody understood it to be an F-bomb, but it was the chair because it makes that sound all the time. It is no longer here. I never used that chair again.
And that, I'll be honest with you, that was Celia who pointed that out. I mean, she's in the bathroom one day getting ready, and she comes out. She's like, "Todd, did Brady fart on the episode?" I'm like, I don't know.
It was a chair sound because it was this kitchen chair that it's it wasn't quite fastened down, and when I moved on it, it did it made the sound, and I never thought anything about it. Anyway,
Chris says the timestamp is there for a purpose. That is 51 minutes and 47 seconds in episode 153. Audience members who are still here, if you'd like to go back and have a listen to that and report back next week as to your thoughts as to if there was a
report.
Episode 153, timestamp 51 minutes and 47 seconds.
You're busting
You
my
know,
chops,
Chris,
Chris.
you kind of make me a little bit nervous because we can't get by with anything now, man. Chris is on top of it.
No.
Oh, he needs a special designation in our Earbud Hall of Fame.
I was gonna say historian is not big enough of a title
Gar-
here.
I assume that's Gary, although Gary, you're now on the Sardinia
You're on the
perk.
perk.
The chair says the F word all the time. I'm confused.
Oh man. Now I'm thinking
Hey,
about Chris's question about what my favorite episode of all time is.
I know mine easily. Well, I can't pick a favorite episode. I can favorite moment. The black blood pudding.
Black blood pudding.
Was that one of the first times of breaking everyone? I think that was one of the first.
We were talking about food from around the world, or some where they throw like it's black blood pudding, and you just said it quickly, black blood pudding, and I just went bam, bam.
Because that was back when I got into re-listening to the episodes, and realized you could change the speed on Spotify to slower, and I just love listening to how like redneck we sound when you slow it down, and just
It sounds
I don't
like
know, just that
everybody's
part,
had Quaaludes.
But I gotta say, my favorite by far is unfortunately, it happens to be an Eric an Eric moment. We all mess up quite a bit. We all say stupid things and have, but Eric stood out to me. The Donatos thing. I just still my favorite.
I knew you were going to say it.
It's my kids' favorite. They every once in a while they ask because I have it recorded. Like I recorded that, and it's funny to me only because I title it. I title that one segment, and going to the well one too many times is what I title it. Because I just come up with these lyrics to this jangle that Brady's talking about for
Shall I?
yeah. Yeah.
It was a Donato's commercial.
Yes.
It was an annoying commercial.
Yeah, which was a great topic. And then I just said, we really want Donatos. And then Brady chimed in with the same rhythm. And then Eric, you could hear him working up and building this, like he wanted to like be the last
Cherry on top.
It just completely shat the bed. So much so that immediately after doing it, the funniest part is after he does, he's like, "Oh, that was bad."
See, and that's the thing in my life. I pride myself on thinking before I speak and having everything in order.
Yeah.
I think that plays into why I like that so much. That is uncharacteristic of you to chime in, having like it was like follow the leader, like like you just
jumped right in.
And I forget what episode it was, but it just sticks out of my mind fondly because of the organicness of it. And it's the one where Unkept Jose came up, and whatever episode that was, and we were like breaking each other a lot that episode, and that was right at the beginning of pandemic. And after that episode was done, I was like, we did a good thing tonight. The world is better for this.
Well, I think that was also when we got into the debate about kept versus kempt.
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Which Eric and I were right.
Yes. Correct.
See, I'm trying of all the episodes where we were broken. I mean, like I said, I've lost track of how many there were, and there was also an episode where I remember the poster in my head. It had Bob Seger and a Nerf boomerang and sea monkeys on it. And it was one of the first 40 episodes, and it was really good. It just like, we all have our personal favorites. I know our most listened to episode is the sugar-free gummy bear review.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why we revisited it last week, and glad to hear that people enjoyed it.
So I have this here. If I don't know if you guys can hear it or not.
We gotta put some words to that. We really want tomatoes, but we won't buy it because we're annoyed. Yeah. No matter how hungry we are. That was bad.
That was bad.
I was forced. You guys had done one, so I needed to do one.
Oh my gosh, that was way. I don't know what episode that was.
It might have been episode number 2.
No, the date. Well, that doesn't tell me anything. Never mind. It's July of 2020 is when I have the date, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's when I screened. You know, I mean, like I recorded it from my phone, so it had to be early on because July, even if July of 2020 would have been a couple months after we got started, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one that a couple people have brought up, and they just couldn't believe we did it. Was the most embarrassing moments episode.
Oh,
And we talked about our own most embarrassing moments.
Yeah, the Great Atlanta Run. And I had a person tell me that they were sobbing because something about I described it as breaking plywood, ripping paper, and throwing marbles into a plastic pan or something to that effect. And they said they just like,
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I just pulled one of those tonight talking about my dog. But I came home from that episode because I had told the story about the hat, the accident and the hiding it under my hat and throwing it in the woods.
yeah,
And I come home and says like, really? Like, well, no, I take that back. She hadn't heard it yet, but when she heard it, she was like, really? You had to you told that on the podcast?
yep.
So would it have been episode 5 classic commercials?
I see. It was an early one. It was an early one.
I don't remember. I don't remember thinking that it was about commercials. Because Brady was telling a story about being in college, right? Or going? No, was that when you went to
Ohio State, and it was Donato's because Donato's was a Columbus company, and they played that commercial constantly, where it was a kid in one of those propeller beanies in stop motion.
Okay, I really need to go back and listen to these.
Yeah,
because I have a bad habit of never listening to them. Because I don't know about you guys, I hate hearing myself, and so I don't. And I think I've shared this before on here, but I remember one morning, like Celia gets up before me and she's getting ready in the bathroom and she's listening. I'm like, is she listening to our podcast? Like, why? And she cracks up listening to them. I'm like, so that tells you something. I mean, because.
yeah. I mean,
she doesn't laugh solo. She doesn't laugh much at me. So like that tells her that when we get together, apparently something strikes her funny. So
yeah,
it's the chemistry.
And the thing is, in all seriousness, I mean, we have listeners that are 11 years old, and we have listeners that are in their 70s. I feel like we've kind of done something kind of cool here.
Chris asked,
11's probably closer to what we are.
Who won the Hotel Scrabble game where Fiskus made sure that you guys used the scoring app? Well, the first time we did the Hotel Scrabble was, I think, before we had the podcast, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was when we were going to the Cleveland and got iced in.
I don't remember who. I think Eric might have won that night. Now, the most recent, I am proud to say, won that Scrabble matchup.
Yes.
That was after seeing
Richard Springfield.
Richard Springfield. Yeah.
So Chris said if he had to put number 11 on it, I think I would have picked the D-bag All-Star Team bracket that Brady made.
No, I don't remember a lot about that episode.
Chris,
I'm gonna have to.
Who was on the D-bag All-Star Team, Chris? Was it people? It surely wasn't people we know.
It was it wasn't. It was things that people do, like actions that made them the D-bag All-Star. I think. Now I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it. I have homework.
Like people going shirtless.
Yes.
Their shirt in their back pocket.
I think that was the humble
Hey,
bragger.
you said it right there. I literally just wow.
Ah.
Yep.
Shirtless
there
in
you go.
public guy.
Chris also says, I know all of you have a special place in your hearts for the Sardinia Founders Day Parade. Yes.
Yeah.
The Rat Barker and Batman.
I'd forgotten that was when that was when Rat Barker was first introduced to me. I never even heard that term used before as like a barker as a term for someone who does that line of work.
James, you're blending a couple stories. In Louisville, that is when the shower, the shower curtain didn't get it, and it flooded the floor. It was not the toilet, I promise. Because it just soaked that. And what made that really traumatizing also is like, hey, can we pick up my boyfriend on the way to? After I just driven 3 hours to meet up with this girl.
So
my son clogged our toilet a couple weeks back, and he broke 2 plungers, and he's proud of that.
You heard of the band Three Dog Night? This is 2 plunger day.
He's proud of that.
Man.
So how many plungers did you have in your house?
Apparently they had to go. I wasn't around. He probably knew I'd have been mad.
Had to
Had to
buy
go to
one.
Lowe's.
They had to go buy one. Yeah.
And see, that's the thing about this show. It's hard to pick a favorite because there's the nostalgia thing we did at first, which like Chris says, that's kind of a special place. Then the funny stuff, and then just kind of pick different moments based upon what you're talking about. But
I mean, at my daughter's graduation party a month ago, almost 3 weeks ago, Eric and I were talking about going to get some pulled porpoise, and I saw a couple people like what? I said, "Have you tried the pulled porpoise?" And I just saw some people like, "What the heck?" They're putting barbecue sauce in the dolphin there.
Well, it's funny how the pulled porpoise thing's mentioned, and then we had the night at Ryan's, Eric, where we had where we ate the seal is what I call it, like a baby seal was there, and three of the 4 consumers had intestinal distress. You remember that, Eric?
I do remember.
I think we've talked about that on this podcast before.
Well, then Chris brings up another story of, I wasn't part of y'all.
Yeah,
yes.
I wasn't wearing Eastern gear. I pushed the story that it was college gear for you all to help you out.
Well,
So
go ahead.
Todd and friend of ours wearing their high school Eastern Warrior gear, and girls, they were older, I believe, as I remember.
Yeah.
And started talking to them, and
This is back in the cruising days, by the way.
Right back in the cruising days. And so I pushed the idea that was not Eastern High School, that was Eastern Kentucky University gear to try to help them out. Don't think it worked too well. But.
Yeah, it didn't. And I think I remember I think for some reason I thought we were in Brady's basement, and it dawned on us that they probably gave us fake phone numbers.
Yeah.
Because we got phone numbers, but they didn't work. Brady's gone. He's out.
He's gone. Chris also says, my favorite recurring joke is the pluralism of people's names, such as seeing Wilford's Brimleys.
Kevin's Bacon.
Kevin's Bacon, yes. Well, and I think part of this show is the Howard Stern movie. What was it called? Private Parts?
Yeah.
Where he has the line in there and he tells his wife, he said, if this show is to work, I've got to put myself completely out there. And that's kind of goes back to the episode where we were talking about our most embarrassing moments. It's like, you got to put yourself out there. to make it funny.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that, and I know that I'm sure there are people that look at us and think, hey, who are these guys? They keep this thing going, and they get 10 people watching them on Facebook, and I mean, it's not about the numbers for us. I mean, obviously the numbers are great, and we like celebrating when we have good numbers, and we have episodes that I think we have one episode that's like sneaking up on 1,000 listens, right?
Yeah. Well, we're overall close to 25,000.
Yeah, and I think that the big thing is how we had talked about doing this for many years, and it took COVID really to do it.
Yeah.
And so like that is kind of one thing about when everybody thinks back to COVID, the COVID time, and especially that spring into the summer and stuff of when COVID first came about. To us, it was like a call to action.
Yeah.
And it was a hey, not only is this the time to do it because we didn't have jack crap to do, but also like, hey, people probably would like to just not hear gloom and doom and in reality, I mean, whatever anybody's thoughts are and were on COVID and the handling of it and everything is at the time, everybody started thinking, okay, is this anybody that's watched like apocalyptic or not, or like
Outbreak
and things like that. I mean, you really are starting to think like, okay, maybe there's something to this, and maybe so I think that was kind of like the interesting thing is why most people have bad memories, and there are definitely a lot of bad memories from that time that I think it helped us get this started because we truly did. I don't mean to sound like we're not trying to write ourselves off as saints, but like we truly did think like, hey, people could probably use some, just some lighthearted talk. And I don't even remember in those early days if we mentioned COVID much. I'd like to revisit those episodes in here if we even talked about it much.
I mean, I don't remember mentioning it, but Brady's still texting. Anyone out there? Yeah, we're here, Brady. Don't know where you went out in the ethosphere, but yeah. And if you recall, I was a guest on a former student of mine had a podcast, and then I was a guest on that, and that's what got me fired up. Okay, we got to do this now. And I don't know how much longer his podcast lasted after that, but we've gone on longer. Well, I mean, hard to believe 4 years. I mean, it's impressive.
But
actually.
Chris, thank you, man, for this because like it's really cool to kind of think back to these, and it really does make me want to kind of go back and re-listen. And we've said it many times, but to us, I'm not sure the podcast would be going on still if we had not have taken it to this format of having people chime in and I know there's people, I've even had people say like, hey man, like, you didn't respond to my comment and stuff like that. So anybody listening, if you've watched on Facebook or whatever, we can't get to every, I can't imagine these people that have like hundreds and thousands of people like, watching a Facebook live thing, but we can't get to everyone's, and we try. And like I even mentioned earlier, I know a guy that I've met through the band, Michael, happens to be named Griffin. That's why he said when he joined the best last name in the room or whatever. I saw like on my Facebook page his comments, but they weren't showing up on here. So there's also some technical goings on that happens as far as us not seeing everybody's comments and things like that. So please don't be discouraged. Keep chiming in because that really does, Gary, Chris, James, everybody else who, everybody who chimes in.
Had Nancy tonight, brand new.
Nancy. Obviously we have some Josh and James, and again, all the names are escaping me right now. All the people that Savannah, obviously, Savannah,
the Browns,
Yeah. So we appreciate it, and because it realizes that it makes us realize that number one is we're not the only one with screwed up senses of humor.
Yeah.
All right, Brady's not coming back.
Well, just got an alert from Spectrum. It went teats up. He says,
"Haven't you ever seen a teat before?"
Teats up. Yeah, Maxwell too. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, yes, I concur what Todd said. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It's a labor of love, I think, and we said that at one point in time. But yeah, we enjoy our time here and enjoy you all coming out and helping us, because sometimes you all drive the show more than us. But certainly appreciate everybody.
It's very hard for us sometimes not to just sit back and watch the comments. You know, I mean, we forget sometimes that people are listening later. And it might be even some of the people who chime in on Facebook and join the lives. We forget sometimes that people are listening later on formats where they're not seeing the video and there's no visual.
Right.
So, which is why a lot of times we read the comment, that kind of thing, and we do it that way, because otherwise it would just be us laughing at your comments, and people listening later would be like, "What are they laughing at?"
Yeah. On that note, I've been catching up some of the audio episode or the Spotify episodes, getting those up, and I just got behind. My apologies, but I put up 2 a couple days ago, and I'll put up a few more. So they may go up more than one a day, but I know some people, that's kind of what they do. They watch us a little bit here, then they'll pick up later on Spotify or wherever. And so my apologies there, but I'll get caught up on that here now that my time is a little more plentiful in the summer.
Yeah.
Do that. So,
and we get that, because it's not like we're not, we don't wear makeup. We don't prepare ourselves for the show. We know we're not, maybe everybody, people don't want to just sit and stare at us. That's not like,
right.
We don't even comb our hair. Let's put a hat on.
But Brady's commenting on the show. One time my guru, Dr. Moss, is watching, my internet goes out. So sorry, Dr. Moss. Brady had technical difficulties. Chris says, in addition to thanks, I have a message for Todd and Celia off air. I want to get them eventually. Okay. So.
Well, thank you, Chris. Like I said, it's kind of been a nice breath of fresh air, and again, everybody, we just enjoy everybody's comments, and you make us laugh, and it's one of those things where we often feel like you guys do a better job of this than we do.
Yeah.
And so, it's nice because, and even deep thought stuff. Every once in a while we'll have it a serious topic, and we'll kind of, you'll learn us stuff.
Yeah. We need to be learned. Learned.
So learn, Ed.
Ed, yes. All right. Anything else?
I can't think of it. It's been a while since we've gone. We're 2 minutes and 17 or 2 minutes, 2 hours and 17 minutes.
Yeah.
It's probably, I don't think we've gone that long in a while.
No, it's been a while. All right. So audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and the iHeartRadio app. Most anywhere you can find an audio podcast, you can find us. Video-wise, also on Spotify, YouTube. If you search our channel, Play It By Ear Podcast, as well as Twitch. Search Play It By Ear there as well. Although those episodes only stay for 2 weeks, I think, and then they kind of drop off. But if you're a gamer and you want to watch within a 2-week window, you can find us on Twitch. Social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram. We have all those social media sites. Just search Play It By Ear Podcast on any of those. And finally, email admin@playitbyearpodcast.com. We got Chris's list via email. So if you want to email us something, you can do it there. Leave a voice message. You can click the link at your podcast provider and leave us a voice message. It's been a while since we got one of those. So look forward to getting one if you'd like to leave one. All right. With that.
We keep saying that we're going to put our heads together and get another live show together at some point.
Yep.
We don't know when, but it'll happen. And I know we've even talked with Gary before about doing it at the Perk.
Yep.
So we'll see. We'll get together. If you guys will show up, which if you've just joined us, Chris, I think you joined us after the live event. That was awesome. I mean, it blew our minds that we actually had people that I think we ended up with. What did we count?
Like close to 50, wasn't it?
Close to 50 people or whatever that came out to kind of
Listen,
partake or whatever you want to
participate.
participate in that, and that kind of blew our minds. So we talked about doing another one, and we definitely want to. We all have pretty busy schedules. I know we're teachers and educators and principals and things, so people think they have their summers off, but at least for now, until my kids are older, my summers are pretty booked, and obviously we all have various things that keep us from being able to do it. But that's an excuse. We have time. We can get it together and do a live show at some point.
Yep.
And look forward to doing that.
Brady says we haven't done a live show because Carnegie Hall hasn't gotten back to us yet. So. Yeah. And in honor of your college visit today, I do have my Shawnee State Esports shirt on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's had been a while since I've been to Portsmouth, by the way. It's if we have any listeners over there, enjoyed a nice drive down past the murals. Too hot to walk.
Yeah.
Walk
Some nice little things downtown there now. They're trying to bring it back a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. We went to a really cool pub, and like I said, the beautiful murals down there. And I hadn't seen them in years. Got to drive past the Portsmouth Raceway or Speedway. I've been there many times, and I know it's often underwater until summer. So it was nice and dry. And Gary, maybe a live event with listener-driven topics. That would be awesome. Yeah. The first live event we did, I don't think we had much listener-driven topics. I think we kind of had our topics, although we did have a lot of interaction with the crowd.
Played Family Feud.
Yep, played Family. That's right. We played Family Feud with the crowd and things like that. So Gary will be at Shawnee on Thursday. Well, enjoy.
Stop by the Vault downtown. See PJ if you're a gamer.
So is the Vault like you want to plug it a little bit, Eric, for PJ?
Yeah, it's a esports arena in downtown Portsmouth. Got obviously PCs and game consoles and virtual reality stuff, and it's a neat little place.
Very cool. Very cool.
All right. With that, Todd?
That's all I have.
Thanks for listening to the Play It By Ear podcast. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter at Play It By Ear Pod 2, and our website at anchor.fm/Play It By Ear podcast. Thanks again, and join us next time as we play it by ear.